Grown up? One sweltering summer, you were in your living room with Cove, listening to the sounds of the birds chattering outside the window while you lay across the rug on the floor. Cove's dad had dropped him off earlier, and your moms had left the two of you, along with Lizzie, to play amongst yourselves. It had been too hot to go outside in the afternoon, at least according to Mommy, so your sister was starting to get impatient, waiting for a golf class that evening. The three of you had had trouble finding something fun to do. The beach and the playground were off limits, and you felt that it was too warm for anything like playing with your fuzzy toy animals. Then suddenly a light came to Lizzie's big brown eyes, and her smile spread wide across her face. Having an idea gave her a new wave of energy. Since we're stuck inside, we should be adults. They don't play outdoors anyway. They're always inside and telling everybody they're too busy to play.
Why?
You said it. I said why, and it'll be fun. Duh. Whoop. Accidentally clicked. Too fast. What do they do inside that we don't, besides use the phone a lot? Excluding a small huff. Excluding? Lizzie decides to ignore Cove.
What do you think?
Risa, what do you think? Do you want to? Cove said it. That doesn't sound fun. I bet we could come up with something else. I don't know. I want to. I don't know. Please, Risa. When have I ever had a bad idea? All the time, I'm assuming. Whenever we play with you. I wasn't asking you. I'll try it, but it sounds boring. Okay, I'll stay. Sorry, I have other stuff to do. You keep hesitating, because social anxiety. You look down in your hands, still unsure. Apparently tired of waiting for you to make up your mind, Lizzie sighed. Fine, go play over there, Risa. You flinched from her raised voice. It definitely wouldn't be fun to join now. Me and Cove will do it ourselves. It's decided. He looked ahead blankly. I guess. Now go on. Nodding goodbye to the two of them, you trailed off to find something else to do. Like he promised, Cove stayed put with Lizzie for the next couple of hours while you watched TV, played Godzilla, read a book, built a fort. Social anxiety. Fucking just sitting in a corner reading a book. You could hear them talking as you sat with a book by the window. You opened the picture book in your lap and immediately got lost in the story. It was about a little donkey who grew up on a farm, making friends with all the animals and pretending to be like them. You liked the part where the swan swam around the pond with the ducks. It always made you laugh. Okay. I'm a child, right. You finished that book and went to get another, but before you could choose one, you noticed that Lizzie and Cove's voices were getting much louder. Curious about what was happening, you craned your neck to hear them better. At first, you mostly only picked up on Lizzie's high-pitched shouting, giving orders, telling Cove what to do, yelling about sports in the Olympics. That was pretty typical for Lizzie, so there was nothing new there. But then you started hearing Cove more and more as time went on. It sounded like they weren't having a very good time. You stayed put. You decided to stay where you were. You didn't want to bother them. Maybe they could be having angry-sounding fun. Yeah, you were sure that's what was happening. Decision made, at least with yourself, you turned your attention back to the cozy reading spot you decided to focus on instead. The afternoon passed normally for you. Nothing happened. The end. And as the sun sank lower into the sky outside, the heat from the day seemed to cool off too. You enjoyed the time on your own. You wished you had someone else to play with. You didn't mind either way if you were alone or not. You enjoyed the time on your own. Gave you a little peace and quiet, and you were able to decide what you wanted to do without worrying about anyone else. Suddenly, things erupted for real on the other side of the living room, and this time you couldn't ignore it. I'm going home. Aww. Good. You're terrible. Aww. Tears running down his face. Cove dashed out the door, slamming it behind him so the hard wood rattled. Mom walked in as soon as Cove ran away. Maybe she heard the door slam. Lizzie, Risa, where's our guest? From the other side of the room, you weren't really in a position to say anything. Still sulking, Lizzie stood up and dusted herself off. He went home. Already? He was busy. Isn't it time for us to get going already? I don't want to be late. Right, we better get a move on.
Let's go.
Let's go, kids. Nolani, where did you leave your car keys? Mom hustled you all out the door, and you noticed during the car ride to golf practice that Lizzie was quieter than usual. We have golf practice. I just want to take a moment to think and laugh about the fact that we were learning in classes how to play golf. Okay. She was usually the first one to request which music to listen to in the car, but she didn't say a thing. Your parents noticed she wasn't in a mood to be bothered. They gave her space, and Mommy just asked you what you'd like to listen to. You picked your favorite song. It always made the car ride more fun. You chose the soundtrack to a cool movie you saw a couple months ago. You chose a song you knew Lizzie liked. Maybe that would cheer her up. You were happy to see it brightened her up right away, and she started singing along with you. Soon enough, her bad mood was a thing of the past. When the car ride was over, you spent the twilight hours watching Lizzie hit things with other girls her age. You didn't know much about golf, but you could tell that she really liked it, so you sat with your moms and tried to puzzle it out. It was nice sitting outside after being cooped up in the house all day, and you stretched out your legs to let the last few minutes of sun warm your skin. When the sun was finally out of sight, dipping behind the horizon, you all got ready to leave. Instead of going straight home, your moms took the family out to dinner. You went to a restaurant you had been going to ever since you could remember. Thinking about it some more, you had no idea what Lizzie and Cove had really been up to, but you could kind of tell that all this helped Lizzie. You were confident that the next time they saw each other, everything would be like normal. Okay. And then nothing happened. Long day. It was another scorching summer day, the kind where no sooner had you finished one cup of water, you were already filling it up again. Everyone else had something on, so that afternoon it was just you and Shiloh. This didn't happen much, especially since COVID arrived. Without Lizzie around, Shiloh looked to you for all the answers. It made you feel pleased, frustrated, nothing really. Shiloh went along with whatever you wanted, so he wasn't a bother, but he also wasn't that much fun. You drained yet another drink and frowned at the empty vessel. Your thirst was gone, but you still craved something icy cold and refreshing, something sweet, something like a popsicle! Yes! An ice cream cone, an ice cream sandwich. Ooh, but I'm a child, so I'm gonna say popsicle. I remember popsicles as a child. I still had popsicles as an adult, but I remember them as a child being like the thing that I liked a lot as a child. You wanted something fruity and brightly colored. Hell yeah. There was nothing like that to be found at home. You knew that without needing to look. Your moms didn't keep sweets in the house. Outside there were plenty of places where such goodies could be obtained, but they were shops and demanded payment in exchange for their products. You sighed. You voiced your predicament aloud. You asked Shiloh for help. No, I just sigh. As much as you really wanted that treat, it wasn't going to happen. What's wrong? I want a popsicle. Shiloh, who had been draped over the sofa, perked up. That sounds good. We don't have any here, and I don't have any money. Oh, let me check if I have any. Shiloh rummaged in his backpack and proudly produced an assortment of coins plus one stray button. You set the button aside and counted the coins in neat piles. Just over $1, you announced this as Shiloh. He had almost certainly come to the same conclusion, but he'd been watching you expectantly. It's not enough.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. Aww. It's okay. We'll need to find some more. Okay. The two of you lifted couch cushions, stuck tiny hands down deep crevices in the sofa and under furniture, and scoured the backs of the drawers. Most of what you found was useless or gross, bent paper clips, fluffy whiffs of dust, or sandy crumbs, but every so often you would strike silver or bronze and add it to the growing pile of coins. Dusty and disheveled from checking every room and squinting into every nook, the two of you finished pooling your finds. Shiloh held his breath as you counted the coins once again. $2.53 and 2 buttons. You didn't know when the second button had decided to join the party. But you were too pleased with your successful haul to throw it out. Is that enough? You figured he knew the answer without looking to you for confirmation, but the thrill of your success and the reward that would follow canceled out any other feelings you might have had about that. Yeah. You could now afford something at the shops. Just one thing, but that was infinitely better than none. Shiloh clapped his hands. We should get like one of those popsicles that's like 2 in 1, and you just break it and share it. I remember those. Yay! The two of you dashed outside, the promise of sugar... Buoy. I've always had trouble with this word. It's like a buoy. Buoy, I think that is. Buoyed. You onto your destination, where, breathless but happy, you stared down at the overwhelming number of options. You knew what you wanted, but it wasn't just you who had contributed the funds to get the treat. He seemed to notice your pause. Aren't you getting a popsicle? Shiloh asked, as though he was entirely separate from the discussion rather than someone with a stake on the outcome. Do you mind? Shiloh cocked his head to the side. It was your idea. You should choose. You went ahead and got what you wanted originally. Are you really sure it's okay? You tried to get something you both wanted anyway. Because social anxiety. Because it is social anxiety. Because if you get something yourself, then that's selfish, and social anxiety makes you feel like you can't do that. It wasn't fair for you to be the only one to decide when he'd be a main factor in making this happen. Some of the money came directly from his backpack. What do you like? All of them. They're so good. You pressed further. But what do you really like? Popsicles or ice creams? Which is your favorite? Oh, it's so hard to pick. I don't know. Frustrated, you cut to the heart of the matter. You want me to choose? Yes. And that was that. You got the dessert you wanted originally and hoped Shiloh would actually like it too. Finally, the reward for all your hard work was in your hands. You sucked on the fruity popsicle you bought. The icy treat cooled you down perfectly, and the zesty flavor was refreshing. You held it out to Shiloh so he could take a turn. He shook his head.
You can finish it.
Oh, baby. Oh. Oh. Oh, I want to give him a hug and a pat on the head. He's so sweet. Oh. You didn't want any after everything you did to help get it? That was weird. You accepted the offer. You tried to include Shiloh. You hesitated.
It's okay.
Aww. Oh, my heart. It's okay, Risa. You want it more than I do, and I'm really happy that we got to play today already. You finish it. Well, it wasn't worth arguing further. The frozen treat was being worn away by the sun and starting to trickle dangerously towards your fingers. If you waited much longer, then neither of you would be getting to eat it. Alright, thanks. The two of you began to head back home as you ate. You offered the treat once more to Shiloh, but he refused again. You walked side by side on the shore in silence, but your thoughts kept drifting to the boy beside you. Why didn't he speak up for himself? It was almost as if Shiloh didn't know how to say what he felt, or was too afraid to. You figured that was his problem and you didn't care. Are you scared of me? You thought that was kind of sad. Are we friends? I thought it was sad. But also, he's so sweet. Like, oh, baby, I want to make you happy. Not being able to talk to people isn't fun. Yeah, social anxiety. That's me too. And you didn't want to be the kind of person people were scared to tell their honest opinion to. You considered asking Shiloh about it, but if he couldn't give an opinion on something like ice cream, then he wasn't going to open up about this. You hoped for the best. Maybe you were wrong, or if you were right, maybe he'd feel better about it soon. Shiloh made you unsure about setting a label on the experience of spending the afternoon with just him. There had been good times, and there had been confusing ones. You were positive of one thing, at least. The treat was delicious, and that was nice. The sun was low on the horizon as you returned to your neighborhood. There you spotted two very familiar figures up ahead, Lizzie and Cove. You opened your mouth to make your presence known to them just as you saw the tears on Cove's face. You walked straight over, Shiloh at your heels. What the fuck is up with these two? Once there, you defended Cove, took a moment to make a joke, accused Lizzie of causing trouble, carefully asked what happened. Without a time machine, the only way you were going to find out was by asking the witnesses. Lizzie might have done something, but she could have been in the wrong place at the wrong time, or even come to Cove's aid. You wanted to hear her story. Hear the story. Cove, what happened? Risa, I got yelled at. He took a deep, steadying breath. Some grandparents got mad at me. Aw, sorry. Lizzie jerked her head in the direction of a nearby house. Your heart sunk. You knew exactly what had happened. Every year, the same mean old couple rented out that condo for the summer. You, Lizzie, and Shiloh knew to stay away from them, but Cove couldn't have. They're like that with everyone. Even your mom struggled to find anything nice to say about them, but the elderly pair particularly took offense to kids. Yeah, Lizzie said. Lizzie drew herself up at that. She looked pointedly in your direction. Uh-huh. I was helping. I didn't accuse you. That's cool. Is there anything I can do? No, I'm just gonna stay away. Or you could teach them a lesson. There was a devilish glint in her eyes. My goodness. What? You should ding-dong ditch them. Go ring the doorbell and run. It'll be great, because they're so slow they'll never catch you. That's dumb. I don't want to go near them ever again.
You're just saying that because you're a chicken.
Okay. I don't know if I need to repeat that. She covered it. Cove glared, but didn't take the bait. Lizzie turned to you. You're not a chicken, are you? Yeah, cluck, cluck. You'd rather just avoid them. You thought they deserved worse. I'll do it. No, I just avoid them. You looked at the house. Behind those closed doors lurked two beings. Rich in years, but poor in patience. Maybe they deserved retaliation, maybe they didn't. But that punishment wouldn't be coming from you. It was safer to stay far away from them. You could live without the hassle. I'm not doing it either. Another chicken for the coop. This is a hen house now. If we're chickens, you're a lizard, Lizzie. She wagged her tongue at his face. Still better than a bird brain. Chick, chick, chicken. The condo door opened, revealing one of the two culprits. The old man's wizened face was set in a scowl, which was to say he looked exactly like he always did when you saw him. Maybe that was his normal face. What are you kids doing loitering outside my house? Or maybe he was always just in a terrible mood. Nothing. Nothing. He repeated the words as if it was the greatest crime anyone could commit. Nothing good, more like. Get lost. It wasn't as if he owned the space outside the house, but Cove's eyes, still red from his earlier tears, were wide, and you thought it would be best to heed the old man's command. Lizzie took off, with Shiloh immediately trailing after her without so much as a glance back in your direction. So much for your friendship. You waved your arm at Cove, summoning him to follow you, and ran after Lizzie. The old man's hollers propelled you all from the street to the sanctity of the hill. Only once you were safe, did you notice the stitch in your chest and the ache in your legs. You flopped down, the blades of grass tickling your face. Lizzie, who had taken the lead in the end, was already lazing on the ground. The four of you took a moment to catch your breath and enjoy the feeling of cool grass against your skin.
Cove.
Hey, Cove. Cove lifted his head. I told you there were mean grandparents around here. Cove rolled his eyes, then decided this wasn't dismissive enough and rolled his whole body away from your sister. Lizzie chose to ignore his response and started chatting to Shiloh, who eagerly joined in on the conversation. In the back of your mind, you knew you'd be second fiddle again to Shiloh once Lizzie came around. It always went like that. And it was fun, you thought. You still felt a little sad after how much time you spent together today. And it was always annoying. And it was fun, you thought. Shiloh could prefer Lizzie as much as he wanted to. You closed your eyes, laid on your side, and relaxed. Some time passed with you like that. It felt good to take a real break. You moved onto your back with a small smile and looked at the darkening sky. Apparently I'm looking at Cove. The blanket of clouds reminded you of a thick throw you curled under on cold, rainy days. You wondered if the clouds would be as soft. They lazily floated on by, splitting from each other, merging and morphing into new shapes. You saw a dolphin, you saw a car, you saw an alpaca, you saw a smiley face, you saw cloud shapes. You saw cloud shapes. That's hilarious. Oh, we did have the dolphin balloon before. An alpaca. That's weird. You saw a fluffy alpaca in the sky. You nudged Cove and pointed to it. Can you see the alpaca? Cove joined you in gazing skywards.
Wow.
It's more like a llama. Same difference. Hey. He chuckled at your reaction. All the sun's light faded from the sky and the moon rose higher. Lizzie got to her feet, dusting strands of grass from her bare legs and surveying the surroundings. The ocean, visible from the crest of the hill, beckoned with every sweep of the tide. Let's go to the beach. There was no argument from the other two. Shiloh was still Shiloh, and Cove would never say no to going to the shore. He was a child of the sea. You wanted to go there too, were too tired to argue, were happy to do what others wanted, objected to the plan. The beach wouldn't necessarily have been where you would choose to go next, but if that was what the others wanted, then you weren't going to spoil the fun. You stepped onto the sand for the second time that day, but it felt different at night. The beach was nearly quiet at this hour. Abandoned sandcastles and footsteps in the sand, too big to belong to any of you, were the only indication of how busy it had been only hours earlier. The four of you kicked your shoes off and removed socks and walked along the water's edge, the waves tickling your feet. I wonder what would happen if you tried to take a bath in the ocean, with shampoo and everything. That would be bad for the fish.
Jeez.
I didn't say anyone would do it. Jeez, you don't have to be serious about everything. You're the one who asked what would happen. That is what would happen. It'd hurt the fish. I like bubble baths at home. They're a lot of fun. Aww. This sweet child. Me too. Bubble baths are luxurious. You'd never heard Lizzie use that word before. Mummy loves to have bubbles in her bath. She'll turn the lights off and have candles. I'm gonna do that next time. Hey, when's your mum coming to pick you up anyway? Not for a while. She's busy. What about your dad? How come you never talk about him? Nobody does. Don't you know you're not supposed to ask something like that? Why would somebody want to talk about something they never talk about? You kept your eyes on the ground, watching your toes get swallowed by the waves. Even if Shiloh never seemed upset when this topic came up, it made you feel awkward just for having both of your moms. It's okay. I'm like Lizzie and Risa. I don't have a dad. But I don't have two moms. I just have one. She's really great. Oh, sorry. I only have one now, too. My mom isn't here. She's back home. It's just my dad and me.
Sorry.
Aw, I never had a dad or anything, so I don't feel bad. It's really sad that your mom is gone. Cove nodded. You joked about Shiloh's mom getting together with Cove's dad. Even if they're all different, our parents are good in their own ways. You didn't say anything. Social anxiety. You couldn't come up with something you thought would make the conversation any less awkward, so you kept quiet. It was safer that way. The silence broke with a splash as Lizzie kicked in your direction. Cold water and sudden sand splattered against your legs. Lizzie giggled, foot still outstretched from the kick. Cove joined in, striking the incoming waves to make a splash of his own. Shiloh scurried out of Cove's spray zone with a grin. You were... I mean... Fine. You used your foot to smack the water pooling around you, sending an arc of sea foam flying back down to your sister. You laughed as she spluttered, some of the salty seawater having landed in her mouth. She spat it out. Yuck! Lizzie chased you, intent on revenge. You dashed up and down the coast, taking it in turns to be the predator and the prey, as well as joining forces to take down Shiloh or Cove. Alliances were silently forged and wordlessly broken. Everything was fair game in war. Ah! Shiloh's brief exclamation was drowned out by the biggest splash yet, causing him to fall face first on the ground. That would have been bad enough without the wave that followed, cascading over his prone body. Shiloh sat up, shaking his head like a dog coming in from the rain as you all hurried over to check on him. His hair was plastered to his head, and his soaked clothes clung. If there was any part of him that was still dry, you couldn't see it. That was crazy. Are you okay? Yeah, my foot got stuck and I fell over. Way to go, Shiloh, you dumbo. You offered to help him... I mean, I wanna, but social anxiety. Shiloh seemed to be fine. Babying him might make him feel worse. But Lizzie didn't have the same idea and held her hand out to Shiloh. He reached over and took it. Slowly, he started to pull himself from the ground. Then he slipped on the slick sand, dragging him and Lizzie down just in time for another wave to hit. The water rolled over them. Sorry. What were the odds of that happening twice in a row? You thought they must be low, but there's no way Shiloh would do something like that on purpose and then pretend it was an accident. Especially not to Lizzie. Even if your relationship with Shiloh felt unclear, he did at least like her a lot. Lizzie was his favorite, right? Smiling boldly, Lizzie extracted herself from the ground and wiped a streak of sand from her cheek. She didn't intend to let this embarrass her. Shiloh got up again as well, this time without incident. He still looked like a drowned puppy, but that didn't stop Cove laughing at the two of them. With that, it was time to call it a day. The four of you made the journey back home, leaving a trail of wet footsteps and sand in your wake. Damp clothes may have weighed down some of the group, but your spirits were high. Your arms swung side to side as a cool breeze flowed past. Your moms were outside chatting to Cove's dad. "We're back!" Your mom's faces fell as they took in the state you were all in, ranging from messy to soaked.
No.
"Elizabeth, is that all you have to say for yourself? You brought half the beach back with you." "They certainly did. What's Marigold going to do when she comes to get Shiloh? Is that how you want him to be for the long drive home, cold and filthy?" Lizzie's expression turned sulky over the scolding. Being the oldest could be fun, but it also meant she was the first to get in trouble when something went wrong. Mr. Holden, on the other hand, chuckled as he ruffled Cove's matted hair. You've been out making memories, bucko. I'm glad you had a good time with your friends." Cove used his slightly moist cast arm to push his dad off. Mr. Holden's eyes widened when he noticed even that had gotten wet. Now he was worried, too. "I think they could have found a less risky way to spend time and had just as much fun." "That might be right. Kids, what can you do? Come on, Cove, let's go get you cleaned up and dried off. We wouldn't want that cast to have to be reset." Cove winced at the thought. Okay. Attaboy. Mr. Holden casually bent down and plucked up Cove off the ground, ultimately holding Cove against his chest. Sand was already transferring from Cove onto him, but that didn't seem to bother Mr. Holden. Cove protested being carried, but only got a reassuring pat on the back for his trouble.
Take care.
"Good night, Cove. Thank you for the talk, Cliff." "Night, Rose family, and Shiloh, too."
Fine.
"Well, we better do what we can to fix you guys up, too. Come on, everybody inside. I want you to march straight to the downstairs bathroom." Yes, Mom." "Okay, Lizzie's mom. Don't worry about stopping to wipe your feet on the mat this time. That won't do much good tonight." Sitting on an old beach towel your mommy had found, you waited in the hall. Until you were less sandy, you weren't allowed to go to your room or walk around the house. But you did get to eat a sandwich for dinner there. It felt like an indoor picnic. It had been decided that Shiloh would wash first and borrow some of your clothes. He was already finished and packed away in his mom's car. Mrs. Fields had come to collect him a while ago. Miss Field. It was a bit of a funny experience seeing him without that hat on for once. Lizzie, being much more soaked than you, got to go in the tub next. It wasn't a bubble bath as she had hoped. This was a no fun allowed clean-up session. At least that's what she claimed. Not much longer and it would be your turn. When the bath was done, you'd have to go right to bed. After a day like this, though, you were glad there weren't going to be any further events. Drifting off to sleep sounded like a great idea. Aw.